Aloha and welcome back. In this lesson, we're going to be looking at Project 6.2 Rainbow Light. The good thing about this is we don't have any more hardware to set up. It's the same as before. The bad news is the only part is the code. And once again, they're not really doing a good explanation of how the code works at a granular level, but I'll kind of help you with that. So if we look here, it's talking about we have mastered, quote unquote, mastered the usage of the NeoPixel. I would call that far from what we did in the last thing, but it was an introduction to the NeoPixel. But anyways, now we're going to look at something a lot more complicated. And we're going to, you notice that we did this before when they went through setting up and not explaining whatsoever when we used our 3-color LED. So the RGB LED. So anyway, we're going to do something equally confusing today. So we're going to try to get something that goes over this gradient here. And we're going to load Rainbow Light Pi, it's 6.2. And we're going to take a look. Also, you're going to have to upload the neopixel.py that we did in the last lesson. So yeah, so anyway, it has the code here. And let me briefly explain kind of what's going on. So we've got the import the pin. We're going to be doing like we did last time. We're also importing the NeoPixel in time so we can do some sleeps. We're saying that we've got 8 LEDs on there. We've got our LEDs. We've got the instance of the NeoPixel set up under NP. We're saying it's going to have 8 LEDs on it, and it's going to be controlled by signal pin 16, the GPIO 16. So we set up red is 0, green is 0, and blue is 0. That's just to initialize it. They do something which I don't really like, but they're using global variables here in their wheel definition. And then down below, oh wait, where's the rest of our code? I think we have more, yeah. So in the main code, we have a loop that goes on. And we're looping through 0 to 255, which is essentially the variations that we can have on an RGB value. And then it's doing an inner loop on 0 to 8, which is the number of LEDs that we have. And then what it's doing at each step is it's saying wheel I plus j times 255 with a floor division by 8. So what it's trying to do here is set up some kind of a shift, really, so that we're shifting for each of the different ones. We're going to be shifting it by a value here. So after we've come up with that, it's going to set in our position thing. And up here, it's going to go through and it's going to define red, green, blue, and it's going to get the value between 0 and 255 there. And it's going to check, is it less than 85? If it is, then here we're going to shift, we're going to set up our red shift and our green shift. We're going to leave blue alone. It does that for each different channel, the color channels. And then it's going to go back down here. And after we've set red, green, and blue accordingly, then hold on, where is that in our code? After we've set the red, green, and blue, we are going to, hold on just a second, let me find it. Okay, so after we set the red, green, and blue, then we're gonna go actually into the NeoPixel object and we're gonna set pixel. For the particular pin that we're looking at, we're gonna set the red, green, and blue values we just calculated. What we're doing is we're calculating it and we're shifting the colors over a little bit for each different NeoPixel that we're dealing with there, or every different LED on the NeoPixel that we're dealing with. Then we're going to sleep for a millisecond, and then we're going to shift over to the next one. So that's essentially the code. If you really want to get into the specifics of how it is they're doing the channel shifts and everything else, feel free to dig in there and do the math. But I wish they had spent a little bit more time explaining how how the math works out so nicely. But anyway, the code looks like this, as specified before. So we're going to use the same setup that we did before. So let me go ahead and shift over to that. So here is our breadboard set up exactly the way it was before. And we have our nifty neato NeoPixel right here. So if we go to run this, doing the color shifts, you'll see that it is doing this beautiful, beautiful shifting of colors. So the whole thing about going from one to the next and shifting it to like the next color over. So that's what it's doing here. So it goes through and it just has this mesmerizing little shift of color. So we can play around with that because we like playing around with it, and we can go in there and just change. If you want to change the speed with which it moves around, we can do that. Time to sleep, instead of 1 second, we can do 0.2 and see how crazy that gets. That actually gets us an error. Let me see. Can I do a sleep in milliseconds? Oh, wait, hold on. So give me just a second. So I was doing 1 millisecond before. Let me see if I can do a 0.01. No, I can't do that. Can't, oh, it needs a, oh, does it need an int for that? Oh, I guess it does. So maybe that was the lowest I could. So I'll just leave the, I'll leave it as a 1 millisecond sleep, but then, yeah, that would be unfortunate. I'll just leave it like this. So if I run it as is, it's just going to do that shift around there, and it's pretty nice. It it just spends about a millisecond on each, or it spends about a second on each one. But yeah, I like this one. This is not too overpowering. If we wanted to, we could do something like modify the brightness on it. So as it went around, it would increase the brightness. But let's try that as well on a, I'll just set up, I'll go over and hold on, I'll stop it. And then I'll go ahead and share my screen. And let's go in here and let's just set up for Z equals, oh wait, no, for Z and range of, let's say 0 to 255, which is the brightness levels. So we're going to go and grab everything that it's doing, and we're going to shift that over. And so for the brightness level, then we're going to go ahead and take our line here that tells us the brightness, and we're just going to go ahead and change that every time. So we're going to set that to our Z. And let's do a step of 5 in there because, yeah. And that should give us the change in brightness as it goes around as well. So let's see how that goes. It may get a little bit too bright to see here. So it does start out really dim, and you see it getting, as it shifts around, it's also getting brighter and brighter. So yeah, oops, I should probably stop sharing so you can see what it's doing a little bit better. So now it's gotten a little bit too bright. Let me start over and run that. But we start out really, really faint, and we get a little bit brighter and brighter and brighter. And as we go, that NP, we're calling on the brightness function with stronger and stronger numbers. So it's going to be brighter and brighter. So anyways, yeah, you can play around with this. And since we now know that we can touch individual pixels, we can actually, let me let me mess around with this. So let's see what happens if we were to go into our code, and let me share that. So if I was to go into the code and we were to say something like for J in range of 0 to 8, which it's going through the pixels there, and we were to do a step of 2, in other words, only do every other one, I wonder how that would look. So yeah, that's, hold on, let me stop the screen share there and then do a run on it. So as you see, we're only using every other pixel when we do that. So I can stop that, and if I was to change that 2 to a 3, then run it, you can see that we're taking every third pixel there. So this is pretty cool. You can figure out which ones you want to do. Yeah, if I really wanted to mess with it, I could say, I could do a step of 8 on it, and that would run it and just affect 1 pixel. But we could always specify, in that set pixel thing, we can just specify specifically which one we want to set and just individually control it that way. Yeah, this gives us a lot of power here, but it's really nice. This NeoPixel, the colors are very vibrant, very nice to mess with. And if you are thinking about some kind of a crazy Christmas lights display, you can probably get in your head that you can take one of those $20, $25 LED strips, connect it to something like a, like a cheap Pico W and run it that way. Just set up whatever kind of crazy thing you want to it. So yeah, this is the stuff that bad Christmases are made of. So anyways, this is the intro to the code. Again, if you want to go any deeper into the details of, shifting the color spectrum and everything, feel free to dive into that. And here's something I would suggest. If you want to get some understanding for different sections, use ChatGPT. Just go in there and select all your code and copy it, and then go to ChatGPT and say something like, explain to me what the wheel function does in the following code, and then paste the code in and see what happens. You'll find that it can give you a somewhat decent explanation of what's going on in there. So anyways, that's it for this lesson. I hope you enjoyed it. And I hope you see some of the possibilities that we have here. We can individually address LEDs on here, so you can have all kinds of fun. So I will see you in the next lesson. Take care.